to you, our cherished listeners. It's always indeed super exciting to come your way every Wednesday with your favorite business development program on radio. Yedia Masterclass is also brought to us by First Code Management Services. They say industry, get it right. Gradually, the month of April is prodding on. It's the 21st day of April today, and very soon we will come to the end of them. Penciled down as a New Year's resolution, a business idea, an endeavor. Just get to it and just get started, because like we always say, time and tide indeed waits for no man. You're welcome back to the conversation today. Last week and the week before, we have been spending time here in the studio with Kobby Spiky, who is a tech consultant and also a member of the multimedia family, and we'll be having a conversation. We went into an aspect of this conversation which had to do with fraud and also cyber crime and cyber security, if you like. And I think that that's one of the things that concern a lot of people, that much as we're having, great surge in, this whole conversation on remote fire in train stations, in public places, in hotels, in airports, and how someone can just have access to your phone because they sent you some information that looked like it was from a credible source, and when you clicked on it, it gave them complete access to all the data on your phone. Today, I was having a conversation with Dr. Gustav Janssen, who's a director of the cybercrime unit at the police CID, and he said that, listen, almost all, if you want to get to know somebody, just pick their phone. Today, we live all of our lives on our phone. Social media, thanks to social media, if you pick someone's phone, you'll get to know a lot about them. And so when people are being investigated, all we have to do is just go on social media and we'll get enough information about you. Same thing happens when people are getting interviewed for jobs. You walk into that panel and they already have information about you and you wonder why. Same thing for visa interviews. Sometimes people get refused visa applications and they don't understand why. Because we can have access to that information, and unauthorized access at that, to the point where they steal even your personal identity. Now, here's some data for us. Again, this is concerning Ghana, and this was shared by Dr. Dollars to cybercrime causes. And this conversation goes on to say that half of these reported cases were linked to fraud. We'll be having that conversation here today. Kobby, you're welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's frightening, when we talk about digitization, the advent of, cyber, it would appear that it was all an uphill, conversation. But then you find that at some point also, because there's a lot of traffic within the cyberspace, while it brings great benefit for manufacturers along the value chain, people who are providing the service, now the ordinary entrepreneur can even put his products out there. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area, leveraging on trade within Africa, within Europe, the entire world. There is also this very dark side where there are people whose business it is to make sure that they take what doesn't belong to them, including your personality. And sometimes when we say identity theft, people don't understand what it is. Talk to us about that whole aspect of cyber crime, cyber security, what the ills are, what people should look out for, and how, for example, we can avoid being trapped or becoming, open or exposed to all of these crimes in the cyberspace. I dare say that sometimes it feels like the criminals are one step ahead.
Well,
Sometimes it feels like that.
yeah.
But let's sort of share data. Number one, to create awareness. Tell people what's really out there, what's happening. Let's not mince words, and then let's sort of reassure, if you like, our listeners again to say, listen, despite all of these things, this is what you can also do to sort of protect yourself. So let's see if we can have that conversation.
Great.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you brought.
Before you continue, though, I have some very, very, very good news for everyone who's trying to set up a company or trying to set up a business of some sort. First Code Management Services. They have something really, really great for us. In these times and moments of increasing business owners, First Code Management Services provide advisory, facilitation support for company formation and business setup, corporate secretarial and business compliance for all your management support services. So talk to us today or call us on 0302 297 2263 or 0302 www.firstcodelimited.com. First Code Management Services, they say industry, get it right. Now, Kobby, talk to me.
We have the habit of posting everything we're doing in our daily lives on social media. Now, like you mentioned, a profile about you, know who you are, and pretend to be you. How difficult is it to right-click, save your picture, create another profile, use your name, and send a message to one or two or three of your friends and say, hey, hi, it's me, Yaw. I'm caught up in. As soon as I get back to Ghana, I'll pay you back. Now, obviously, the person has seen history of your conversation with the person or your correspondence with the person on your Facebook page, for instance. So the person commenting on your stuff and then knows that, oh, this guy is a close friend of Yao. So if I pretend to be Yao, goes on. You even see celebrities nowadays always coming out to say, hey, that post or that message you received from this person telling you to send money is not me. You know, people's images and all that. And it gets worse. If you're not lucky, the person could even commit a crime, not just soliciting for funds, but they can actually commit a crime with your details, with your identity. I could go and maybe buy something from the black market with your identity, and if the authorities office, your reputation would have been damaged. All these things,
and it places you at the point, at the the place where the crime took place.
exactly. And you probably knew nothing about it, but that's because you didn't respect your own privacy and put out your information for the public to have.
I'll share something with you. You know, when I spoke to Dr. Gustav the last time, there was a demonstration that took place. And I just wanted to share this very briefly before we get interactive, because I know you have a lot to share. So I'll just be very brief. There was a demonstration that took place. So in the demonstration, the ethical hacker sent a text message, which was a phishing message, to another phone, which was a demonstration phone. And he clicks on that message. Now he says, yeah, just by clicking on that message and opening it to look at it, because he represented it as though it was from the person's employer, I have access to your phone, to your WhatsApp. He says, take a look. He opens the WhatsApp. It doesn't matter how many passwords you have on it. And sends a message to somebody. He says, yeah, I even have access to your phone. And he says, my phone is supposed to be in my pocket, but it's calling someone, and it's not my pocket dialing.
Nope.
It's someone making a phone call. And that can easily place me at the point of a crime, because the trail will show that I made a phone call at so-and-so time to this person. So it makes you feel like, so I asked Dr. Youngson, I said, so what should we do? Should we throw our phones away? I just want to share that experience, support what you're saying.
It's very realistic. It's something that actually does happen. But, because of this side parts of the world, we don't see, or it's not publicized, so people think, oh, this will only happen in the US or in Europe. But if I can teach you how to get free internet on your phone, and guess what? Everybody connected to that Wi-Fi, and we're waiting for me to teach them how to get on it. And whilst they were connected, whatever they were doing, I was listening in. So I would call this person, oh, come, is this your phone? Is this your phone, your photo gallery? And they're like, how did you get in? I'm like, oh, but you are now? And I used a certain word I can't use on air because I've taken control of all your devices. People, we like freebies. And that's one of the things that people need to stop. When you receive an email from an email you're not expecting with an attachment, don't download it, don't open it, because a common PDF file can be merged with something we call a rat. I tell you bank statement, I pretend that's coming from your bank, and you double click it, and it has a rat built in.
Your camera remotely.
And most of the time the cameras have this LED light that indicates, with this some of these rats, it doesn't indicate that the camera is on. The lights wouldn't show. And that website could be hacking you. Reverse hack. So
while we're talking about this, I'd like for us to bring this conversation to the work environment, because we're talking about people working remotely. But there's this thing that I also picked up in that conversation, that how we always put our computers in our rooms, in a place in the room where there's a table.
Yep.
And for most people, your computer or your laptop, it's either on your bed or it's facing your bed. It's either on your bed or it's facing your bed, or it's facing a part in the room where you feel that it's private. Now, if somebody can turn on your camera remotely, I'll just let them.
All these documents, all these things that I said, like receiving emails, going to websites that you've never been to, or you got a link, or someone promised you. Day in, day out, there are new technologies, there are new ways. Like you said, it's like they're always one step, because they're the ones who are hungry. The ones who are battling them have to wait for them to take a step so they can stop them. You can't anticipate that, oh, this is what the thief is going to do today. This is how the thief is going to come to my house. You can only do that based on previous experience. But I can't tell that thieves have now learned how to shrink themselves through burglar-proof windows. So maybe make my burglar-proof thinner? What if they've even learned to squeeze themselves, smaller? So it's always reactive, but you can always protect yourself. Now, we'll start with identity theft. Number one, you have to really respect your own privacy. When I say respecting your privacy, yes, you don't do the inverse on social media. Why do you post all those pictures? Letting everyone you see your compound in your house, your room, your table, but you wouldn't let them from outside see it.
Well, it's my personal opinion, but so I'm sorry. Go
Don't
ahead.
worry. It's I understand. I mean, I've had this conversation with people who think that, hey, but I should have the freedom to post whatever I want to post. But then you also need to think that who are you targeting? If you don't mind the rest of the world seeing it, you might as well just sleep at home without locking your doors or your windows. Don't put curtains. Don't put blinds. Allow people to see inside your house. Because Instagram, you have the ability to limit your posts to just the people that you select. Facebook, for instance, you can choose only your friends or friends of your friends or just people that you choose to have access to these things. Now, it's good because then someone who is a bad player cannot knowing that, oh, you go on holidays, you like wine and everything. If I follow your post and I notice every single time you post food is wine, I can build a website that sells wine and tell you, oh, we're doing a giveaway. Click on this link, fill this form, and then you'd receive a crate of wine. And you would also, you knowing that, oh, I love wine, you go fill that form, put in all your details, and that's all that they needed. They needed your details and tell you, create an account. Most people use the same password. So I'm telling you to create an account. You're like, oh, I need to get this crate of wine. So you go type in your username, type in your password, you've created an account. Now they have all you did was just register for a wine website. It could be anything. It could be football. And that's actually what they get most of the guys with. They want to watch the latest match online, stream it. So they're going to free sites where they can stream football. And some of these sites are either bombarding you with ads or they ask you to sign up. And you'll sign up, put in your username and password. You don't know who's running the website. What my advice? Yes, fine. You can't say people shouldn't go and try to watch football, but don't use a password that you use for something that's sensitive on some of these sites. Sites where you download movies and all that. Don't use your username, your
One that's
about
untraceable to you.
Create a burner account. I have a burner email that almost all my spam and rubbish go in there. You cannot trace it to me. I mean, it has nothing traced to me. The date of birth is different. The name is different. Nothing, it's not connected to anything. Even if I'm opening it on my computer, I open it within a browser that's not going to set
risks that exist therein. And we're saying that as much as possible, your activity on social media, try and separate that from what you do officially, even if it's your own business. And the reason is that if they can get to you on social media, they can get to your business. So, for example, like you're saying, the accounts, the emails, and all of that, try and separate what you do, socially from what you do officially. Now, the second thing that Kobby, I hear you talking about very strongly is that don't put too much information concerning yourself online. Because, again, I mean, I've seen videos about cybersecurity. Somebody walks up to you in a pub and says, hello, Kobby. Oh, how was the visit to Grandma's yesterday? And they ask you the 5-6 questions they ask you or things they talk about are things that are true. Mm-hmm. And you're wondering, where do you know me from? And they say, oh, remember we were in school in St. Louis together. Because sometimes it's just what it is. It's life. So we're saying that, number one, be aware. This conversation is to create the awareness. Be aware of yourself. Be aware that it's no longer just fun. It's no longer just a plaything. People are mining that information and they're using it for reasons other than what it was intended for. So awareness is key. Right, Kobby, let's continue.
So I'll give you a few statistics that could even make this whole thing more staggering. So number one is that there's a new identity theft victim every 2 seconds. Like every 2 seconds, someone has been an identity theft victim. So as we speak right now, I think about 10 seconds have passed. We have 5 people who've fallen victim to identity theft because...
Wow.
Yeah, they probably put in too much information or they fell for a very silly post, like something I saw on Twitter. Someone saying that, and this would apply more to people in the States because they have social security numbers. Now, that's very important because the social security number is your whole identity. Someone posted on Twitter saying that the numbers in your social security number is how rich you would be. And people were posting, so I'll be 66 million, this, and that you just basically just put your number out there.
And literally what they were doing was they were mining people's social security numbers.
And people were doing it. And we've heard about this Cambridge data, that scandal that happened, and Cambridge Analytica. It all was data mining, taking people's data, building psychographic, profiles around them so they could sell ads to them. That's a totally different, issue. But if even legally people can find illegal ways to legally mine your data, think about how illegal people would use your data.
Right.
Theft. Reason being that there's a lot of information about them out there for people to grab, to use. And I'm like, this is not that person, because I know how the person speaks, and that doesn't sound like. So I just sent the profile to the person. I'm like, hey, someone's pretending to be. He's like, I've been trying to deal this, and I said, yeah, because your your profile is public. Anyone can find you. You want to set your privacy settings high. Now, moving away from identity theft, because a lot of people by now, I hope, have realized that this is what they need to do to prevent it. Be private, prevent things that you don't want the general public. You can put
Don't go
stuff.
to strange websites.
Don't go to strange websites.
Don't open emails that you are not expecting
Yep.
unless you verify by another means. Just be careful when you're clicking your emails, because sometimes the alphabets are slightly different.
Yep.
So apart from these things, what are some of the other things to look out for?
So the URL.
The URL.
Google is Google. Someone can make it Go0GLE. Ideally, most of these companies buy as many variations of their domain names, just so when you try to access them, it brings you back to them. So I remember Facebook, if you did a Facebook with one O, it would take you back to Facebook. If you made it Facebook with an S, like Facebook's, it would take you back to them. But there's only so much they can buy. They can buy every, so many variations. It'll be very expensive, So just to be sure that the URL you're typing or the one you're clicking is the correct one. There's a risk, there's a trick that these hackers also do where they can mask the URL. So you are seeing on the top that it says google.com, but behind it, it's a different URL. So when you click on the address bar when it's going, because they can mask it, but they can never mask it in the address bar. They can only probably, even if they shorten it, it will extend. It will expand when it gets there. So check all these things when you click links. And not paying for anything on the internet, then you should know that you are the product. They are finding some way to sell you. Either they're using your computer to mine for cryptocurrencies, or they're serving you ads, or they're stealing your cookies, or they're probably even hacking. Sometimes it's cheap, Get a Netflix account. Don't go downloading free movies. And then there's phishing, which is one of the smartest ways to get stuff from people. So what we mentioned, how they can get, they can steal your identity using, all these fake URLs and everything. It's also used for phishing. Now, phishing is when they clone a website for it to look like something that you are used to, something that that's even more dangerous, because where you're going to put in your credit card details. You need to be sure of the URL once again. If you click on the link and it opens and it shows you that this is how, even if it looks slightly different from what you're used to, you should be, worried. You should be worried and then start to look in the address bar. If someone sent you a link to buy something and you want to pay for it, always also check the payment method that you're using, or the pay gate, what we call a pay gate. Some of these are not trusted. So you might go to a website that someone's just recommending to you to buy something from. It's not from a reputable source. And you get to their pay gate, you get to where you're supposed to put your card details. Do a Google search. You may see a name. You'd almost always see the company that's handling the payment. Do a Google search to see what their return policies are. Because sometimes you make payments online and you don't get these things back. Or we don't have PayPal here. I've used PayPal as an example, but we use Skrill. There are so many others. Just make sure that it's legit before you put in your details. It's an account, like I mentioned, and that to you may think, oh, I just created an account, but they just got data. They got from your data that they can now put together to do something. I'm smart enough to spot a site that's phishing. They can actually phish in a different way. Mobile phishing exists. Someone can send you a WhatsApp message based on data they've also grabbed online. I didn't even have a card, so I knew what he was on, but I just played along. And this, that, I'd like to call you, have a business proposition. I just hung up. Know also when to tell when someone is lying to you on the internet. Someone sends your phone numbers. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? You're just opening yourself for attacks. Maybe you're smart enough to block them, but the stress, the time that you're wasting, possible calls that you could have been receiving for business, that person is still trying to, scam you, and so they keep calling,
Right.
and then, interrupting your business. So don't be putting your phone number online unless it's a business phone number and you need to advertise it. But your personal phone number, please don't.
What are some of the security, should I say, provisions that a small business, because I'm saying small business because the corporates already have their installations. They have the financial sector today. I mean, the regulator and
Yeah.
the BOG, it has a list of things you should do, periodic checks, PCI DSS. I mean, there are all sorts of things going on, and by the minute and by the second, we're checking, what's going on there, because obviously there's a lot of money in that space, and that's
Yeah.
where a lot of attacks will also take place. But for a business who's listening to us who thinks, listen, I want to also build robust systems for my business. I don't have the millions yet, but as a system, email system, domain system, that is secure enough so that when I go to sleep, I won't have to worry about someone coming in through the back door.
Your domain and your hosting should probably be bought from a good, reputable source, not one of these cheap ones. Security, and then you, on the other hand, also need to take steps to, let's say, your email service. The default email service that comes with the hosting services, the round cube mail and all that stuff, it's easy for them to always be sending scam mails to that. They'll tell you your mailbox is almost full. People fall for that all the time. Smart mailboxes like, Hotmail, Gmail, they can tell because they've done this for a long time. They have the data, so they are able to anticipate messages that are either the hosting. They don't have these filtering systems. So almost every mail can come in. Anyone can try to scam you. And some of these emails are actually blacklisted. But because Gmail and Hotmail and all these other ones have done this for a long time, they've been able to tell they have AIs that are able to predict that this email is possibly scam. That's why sometimes even a legal mail, a proper mail, than allow any mail to come into mine, because you may be expecting an email that's saying that, hey, we've made payments, or we're waiting for payment, and then you get that happens. So if you can,
I have a question, but I want us to get interactive so that our listeners can be a part of it. And the question I was going to ask is that the use of private emails for personal for business. So just keep that on ice. And
Sure.
then, also brought to us by First Code Management Services. They say industry gets it right. We want to get interactive, dwelling on the area of cybersecurity and cyber crime. We'll be talking to you, but we'll take a quick message from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM 6541, or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention, everyone. Class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, this is Masterclass. So going cashless has never been this convenient and exciting. GOIL's e-payment systems are now compatible with the GH Link and the National Payment Platform. Now, fuel purchases at GOIL stations in addition to the Go card. Every fuel purchase is recorded automatically on your monthly bank statements, helping cardholders track and manage their expenses. Go cashless and protect yourself and stick to all the COVID-19 protocols in these times. GOIL, they say good energy GOIL, Yenara, Yedia. First Code Management Services. And so in these times of increasing uncertainties, firms are compelled to seek tailor-made solutions to reduce risk and to grow their businesses. For startup investors, SMEs, and business owners, First Code Management Services provide advisory and facilitation support for company formation and business setup, for corporate secretarial and business compliance, for accounting, for research and market entry, and also for training and capacity building. First Code Management Services are your first point of 2263 or 0302-297-2264. Locate us at 60A Westlands Boulevard, West Legon, or visit us at www.firstcodelimited.com 216541. That's 0302216541. You can also send us your comments on 055 11 997. We're also streaming live on Facebook, so if you post your questions on Facebook, our team will be able to bring it to us and we'll be able to read your questions. I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Right. Your name, where you're calling from, sir?
Oh, this is Kay. I'm calling from airport.
Right. Talk to me, Kay.
So Kobby, Spiky. What do you want us? We should throw away all our gadgets, eh? No, because I've been listening and I'm trying to make heads and tails of what he's saying. So I'm trying to find so what should I do?
Yeah.
Throw away my email, get a new email, like my camera is at risk, my phone book is at risk. You can make a call while it's in my pocket.
Right.
As to what to do, because this is scary, you know.
It's
very scary. So I know it's been informative, it's been very productive, but honestly, I don't know if I'm better off or worse off, because I can't know what to do. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome, Kay. You're welcome. So maybe I'll share some assurances first, and then Kobby, you can. So, Kay, I feel the same way. I mean, I think that there's even more information that if we share, it'll be so daunting. So what should we do? I asked the same question to Dr. Yankson when I spoke to him, and I said, should we throw our phones away? Because the best way for a record not to exist is not to create it. It's not to delete it, because they even tell us that. Now, when you delete it, it's still on the phone device somewhere. Yeah. So for all those of you who buy phones and then when you buy another phone, you give it to somebody, please, Kobby, Spiky will tell you, the data is still there on your phone. What should you do? Be careful. Be careful, be careful. How can you be careful? Now you know that the information you put out there, initially it was maybe for fun, for people to know what's going on and, for excitement, for entertainment. But now you know that somebody can mine that data. You know somebody can turn on your phone. So what should you do? Don't open emails you are not expecting. Emails with attachments you are not sure of. Maybe from your banker or from your child's school or from your employer. If you are not sure, call them on the back and verify. Did you send me this? And we have talked about the URLs, things to look out for. Anything that looks suspicious, don't touch it. Don't visit sites that, you shouldn't be going to, because that's where all of these things are. There was an example you gave, Kobby, about another sort of suspicious thing to look for in the emails and all of that. Just be careful and be aware. Okay, that's all we're saying. How can you be careful? Look out for the things that are out of place, the things that are not in the ordinary, and avoid those things, because now they're coming right into your bedroom. And one more thing, if your computer is facing your bed, when you go to sleep, turn it away.
Just put a tape on the camera.
Just tape the camera or something, I mean, every 5 minutes I look at my phone to see whether it's dialing by itself or something. Sometimes you used to get messages from the telcos that, some money has moved on, and you haven't touched your phone, and it's just, I turn it off. Sometimes I just turn the phone off. So we're not saying that panic. We're saying that things are happening out of ordinary these days. Just be a bit more careful, right? And that's from the lay perspective. Kobby, let's talk the tech perspective.
So it's spot on. Another thing is also the grammar. Businesses take communication serious. So a business will not send you an email that is rife with grammatical errors. Great. So if you're receiving an email and there's so many grammatical errors, the
English is off.
English is a bit off.
The spellings are wrong.
You should start being worried. I'll give you a typical example. This camera thing facing a client of mine told me that he'd received an email, and then the email said that they had been watching him, and they'd hacked into his camera, and he'd accessed a adult website and some things that so they have a video of him, and as such he should send $1,000 or they're going to release the video. And he forwarded it to me and his password. So I told him there's a website that you can go to. I mean, all the data dumps are always dropped all the time. Go to that website, enter your username, and then you click on it. It's called Have I Been Pwned? It'll let you know if that sites have been breached and the data is the hackers dump them. So other hackers take them and they use them to tailor hacks or extortion messages and send to you, say, hey, I have your username. I did something. But if you've taped your camera and you haven't visited any sites like we've said, you wouldn't be worried. Someone ended up paying the money and they didn't have anything. But they'll even ask you for more money. They'll start to extort more money. They'll tell you, okay, now we want $2,000 because they realize that you can pay. And then you keep paying. Next thing you know, you've just...
So what are the ways we can battle this in terms of awareness. Apart from awareness, is also our behavior.
Yeah.
So be a bit more careful online. And the thing is, you see all these smartphones, we keep buying these smartphones. We have no clue what these phones are capable of. Sorry. So if somebody got into that phone, they don't need to ask you any question.
It was one of the things I was going to talk about, like businesses who buy smartphones for their employees, and an employee loses the phone. If the business did not take into consideration that this is a risk, a possible risk, because there are policies, security policies that
remote wipe and stuff like that.
Remote wipe, yes. If they don't take that into consideration and someone picks that phone, all that data on the phone could be accessed later. And they could tell a lot of things from, like you mentioned, people's emails back up their photos. Their location is tracked by it. Their emails are in there. Their contacts are backed up in there. If I found someone's phone and then it had contacts of ministers and all these people and their messages, interactions, you can imagine people who can't remember their passwords to their emails. So when this happens, they can't even log in to wipe the phone, because you need that to be able to wipe the phone. So given the solutions as we throw the tips out.
Is it? And I was going to ask this question earlier, but now I'm thinking about it, and I find that people use their private emails for business also. I mean, at the corporate level, you won't be allowed to use your private email to work, but at the entrepreneurial level, people are building their businesses. It's expensive to do these things. Pay all the regulatories, try and put money in the business, pay salaries, pay tax, and then you go and pay some tech guy to come and set up a domain for you and speaks a language that you don't understand and keeps asking for money. Talk to us about the use of private emails for business transactions.
Okay, so I personally do not respect, and I say this sparingly, businesses that use personal emails or non-customized emails. So if I see a business that says, let's say, carsforsale@gmail.com, I won't trust it.
Business name.
Exactly.
Use your business name as a domain. In your email, as a domain.
Create a website, get an email, and I'd send an email. I'll be more comfortable sending an email to an info@carsforsale.com than to send it to cars.com. I'll move it straight to spam, because it seems suspicious, So
when we're forming these emails to be a bit professional, because now there's a lot of profiling.
Yes.
In the cyberspace. When I say profiling, they're looking at things like your email name. I spoke about the fact that the good guys can't seem to preempt what the bad guys are doing. But I'm aware that today there's what we call ethical hacking. And essentially, hacking used to only be on one side, where somebody would try to get in fight, anticipate, and think like the criminal, so that we can either be a par or ahead of them. Just share a few thoughts on ethical hacking, if you like. So most ethical hackers don't like to be seen. They are hiding in the dark because somebody will go and attack them. But really, what's that conversation about? So
most hackers, in the end game for a white hat hacker is just to preempt what a black hat hacker is trying to do. Black hat hacker is just looking to benefit.
The difference
themselves.
between the two is what? Is attitude.
It's just the end game. What are we trying to achieve? Am I trying to get something? Am I trying to destroy?
No, but at what point and it's not a question for you to answer. If a black hat,
it's very possible.
You see what I mean?
But then that's why the law enforcement also have their own white hat hackers who stand for rights, quote unquote, because they don't want to. They're not doing it for their own benefits. They want to prevent, because
out of the goodness of their heart.
Out of the goodness of their heart, exactly. So they don't want to. But that's the thing. The black hat hackers are more, should I say, motivated, because they're doing it for their pockets. They're trying to steal.
The end game is money.
The end game is money. The white hat hacker is doing it because it's noble.
It's fulfilling.
It's fulfilling as well.
To do the right thing.
Yes. But the advantage is that the white hat hacker has access to the black hat hacker's data, i.e. the dark web. I mean, we all have access to the dark web. If you're able to get in there, you'd see all the stuff there, because the hackers post them. So someone finds an exploit. Oh, I found a way to break into Yaw's email. I just posted it. So this is what I did. This is how I got in. This is what I did. And then white hat hacker could go look and say, okay, this is what he did. Let's preempt this. Let's do this. So
it's not all doom and gloom. What we're saying is that there is help available, and people like Kobby and the tech guys are available to help, to the point where law enforcement has preempted and tried to think like the criminals. And so there's a lot of support and help. The Ghana Police Service is doing a great job, Dr. Youngson and his people, and there are a few other good guys as well who, out of the goodness of their heart, have decided to be on the side of the good guys. So what we're saying is that, number one, be aware. Number two, have robust systems. Find them, they're available. Benchmark other companies which have done this, and be careful with your behavior online, because people are mining your data to do.
Few disadvantages of remote work. Yeah.
Right. So this has been the conversation here on Masterclass today: cybersecurity and some of the tips that you can look at to help your businesses. We continue this same this conversation again next week. We're going to be looking at the benefits and advantages and a few disadvantages of remote working. Also, we can do this and make it work and help our businesses to grow and cut out the risks. Like I said, this has been Masterclass. Up next, we continue with the ignition with Sammy Forson. Thank you for watching and for listening, and we'll